The bloodied paw prints in the snow told a story of suffering that Christmas Eve night in Millbrook, Montana. Each crimson mark against pristine white tracked 3 miles of desperation through the blizzard, a journey no creature should have to make alone. Max collapsed on the wooden porch just after midnight, his German shepherd body trembling with more than cold. The scars crisscrossing his back bore witness to chains and fists, to a man's rage turned upon innocence itself. He didn't know that the woman who found him had already buried 1 soldier. He didn't know that the dying child inside would become his reason to live. And he certainly didn't know that the man who beat him would soon be saved by his mercy. How does a creature learn to love those who hurt him? And what happens when that love becomes the bridge between life and death? This is a story about all of us. Really. About the scars we carry and the grace we're given. About finding home in the most broken places. Before we continue, please leave a like and let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Max hadn't always been a beaten dog. Once, he'd been a soldier trained in the dust and heat of Kabul, Afghanistan, serving alongside Sergeant David Bennett of Millbrook, Montana. For 3 years, they'd been inseparable. Max had saved David's life twice, once sniffing out an IED before their convoy rolled over it, once dragging him to cover during an ambush. The bond between handler and K9 ran deeper than duty. It was brotherhood. When the IED finally got David in 2017, Max was 20 yards away, clearing a building. He never got to say goodbye. The military transferred Max to Travis McCoy, David's unit buddy and fellow Millbrook native. Travis had promised David he'd take care of the dog if anything happened. But Travis came home with more than memories. He brought back nightmares that wouldn't stop. Flashbacks that turned whiskey bottles into survival tools. His PTSD made him see enemies everywhere, including in the brown eyes of a dog who only reminded him of the friend he'd failed to save. 2 years of abuse had left Max with scars across his back, a rib that healed crooked, and a fear of chains that made him tremble. Yet somehow, impossibly, he remained loyal, remained loving, even to the man who hurt him. Sarah Bennett knew nothing of Max's past that Christmas Eve. She only knew grief. At 34, she'd already buried the love of her life, that same Sergeant David Bennett who'd left for his 4th deployment and come home in a flag-draped coffin. She'd been 22 when they married, 32 when she became a widow. Now she worked double shifts as a hospice nurse at Millbrook Medical Center, helping other families say goodbye while unable to process her own loss. David's uniform still hung in her closet. His coffee mug remained on the second shelf where he'd left it. The irony wasn't lost on her. She guided dying patients toward peace every day, yet couldn't let go of her own dead. Her daughter Lily, 8 years old with her father's brown eyes, was dying of leukemia. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The doctors called it. Diagnosed at 6. She'd fought through 2 years of chemotherapy, achieved remission twice, only to relapse in November. Now, in late December, Dr. Morrison had given them the truth that Sarah already knew as a nurse 3 to 6 months, maybe less. Treatment options exhausted, time running out. Lily had stopped smiling 3 months ago, stopped talking much. The vibrant child who'd dreamed of being a veterinarian had gone quiet, as if conserving energy for a journey only she could see coming. Travis McCoy's trailers smelled of stale beer and old regrets. It was 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve when he made the mistake of turning on the television, a documentary about Afghanistan, combat footage. The sound of explosions, the flashback hit him like a freight train. Suddenly he wasn't in Montana anymore. He was back in Kandahar, watching David take the bullet meant for him. watching his best friend fall, hearing his own screams that couldn't change anything. Max was sleeping in the corner when Travis grabbed the chain. "You let him die." Travis's voice cracked as he swung. The metal links caught Max across the shoulders, the same spot scarred from previous beatings. "You were supposed to protect him. You were right there." Max didn't fight back. He never did. He just whimpered and tried to crawl away, eyes filled with confusion and hurt that somehow felt more damning than any accusation. Travis hit him again and again, until his arm was tired and his face was wet with tears. He didn't remember crying. Then he looked down at what he'd done, at the dog curled in a ball, bleeding, still looking at him with something that might have been forgiveness. "Get out," Travis whispered, then louder, dragging Max to the door. "Get out. I can't look at you anymore." He kicked Max into the snow and slammed the door. The German Shepherd stood in the blizzard for a moment, shaking. Then he started walking, 3 miles through whiteout conditions, following some ancient instinct, some scent memory from years ago, following the ghost of David Bennett home. Sarah had just finished tucking Lily into bed when she remembered the trash. It was nearly midnight, but the bins needed to go to the curb before the holiday pickup. She pulled on David's old parka, still wearing his clothes after 2 years, unable to let them go, and stepped into the brutal cold. That's when she heard it. A whimper, so soft she almost missed it under the howling wind. She found Max collapsed on her porch steps, barely breathing. Snow had already begun to cover his dark fur, but she could see the blood, fresh wounds across his back, older scars beneath. His paws were torn and bleeding from the long walk on frozen ground. "Oh my God," Sarah breathed. Her nurse training kicked in before her heart could catch up. She knelt beside the 80-pound dog, checking his pulse, his breathing, hypothermia, blood loss, possible internal injuries. She should call animal control, should get help. But it was Christmas Eve in a blizzard, and this creature was dying on her porch. David would have brought him inside. Sarah got her arms under the dog heavier than she expected. Dead weight of exhaustion, and half-carried, half-dragged him through the front door. She laid him on towels in the kitchen, grabbed her first aid kit, and got to work. Warm water to clean the wounds, antibiotic ointment on the lacerations, a blanket from the dryer, still warm, wrapped around his shaking body. As she worked, she cataloged the evidence of abuse. Old scars, healed fractures, burns that might have been from cigarettes. "Who did this to you?" she whispered, cleaning blood from his fur. "Who could hurt something that only wants to love?" Max's eyes opened brown, like David's had been, and he looked at her without fear. Despite everything he'd endured, he didn't try to bite, didn't growl, just watched her with something that looked like gratitude. It was too late to take him to a shelter, too dangerous to drive in this weather. He'd stay the night, just the night, in the morning. She'd figure something out. Sarah didn't sleep. She sat with Max through the dark hours, checking his breathing, making sure he stayed warm. When dawn finally broke on Christmas morning, she heard small feet on the stairs. Lily shuffled into the kitchen, pale and thin in her pink pajamas, the ones that hung loose now on her shrinking frame. She'd been bald from chemotherapy for so long that Sarah had almost forgotten what her daughter looked like with hair. Lily saw Max and froze. For 3 months, Sarah hadn't seen her daughter smile, not once. Not through the hospital visits, the painful treatments, the conversations about heaven that no 8-year-old should have to have. But now, looking at the broken dog on their kitchen floor, Lily's face transformed. A smile, small but genuine, crossed her lips. Max lifted his head. Despite his injuries, despite his exhaustion, he crawled toward Lily, belly low, submissive, non-threatening. He knew, somehow, that this child was fragile. "Mom," Lily whispered, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks. "He's scared like me? Can he stay?" Sarah's throat tightened. They couldn't afford a dog. Lily needed routine, stability, medical focus. They couldn't take on something else broken when they were barely holding themselves together. But Lily was smiling. "He needs us." "Mom," Lily said softly, kneeling to touch Max's head. "Like I needed you when I got sick." Sarah looked at her dying daughter and the dying dog, and made a decision that would change everything. Just until we find his owner. Baby. The morning of December 26th, Sarah decided to clean Max properly. He'd been with them barely 24 hours, but already he seemed woven into the fabric of their small household. Lily had slept better than she had in weeks, with Max curled on the rug beside her bed. In the kitchen sink, Sarah scrubbed dried blood and mud from the dog's worn leather collar. It was military grade. She noticed the kind that didn't come from pet stores. As the grime dissolved under warm water, something caught her eye. Metal, engraved metal beneath the leather. Her fingers trembled as she cleaned more carefully, revealing words stamped into a metal tag riveted to the collar itself. SGTD, Bennett, K9 Unit, Loyalty Beyond Death. The collar slipped from Sarah's hands and clattered into the sink. D. Bennett. David Bennett. Her vision blurred. The kitchen tilted. She gripped the counter to stay upright, her breath coming in short gasps that sounded too loud in the quiet house. This was David's dog. His K9 partner. The one he'd written about in letters from Afghanistan. The one he'd loved like a brother. The one she'd been told was relocated after David's death wherever military dogs went when their handlers died. Sarah's mind raced through the timeline. David died in 2017, 2.5 years ago. Where had Max been all this time? Who had owned him? Who had hurt him? "Mom, why are you crying?" Lily stood in the doorway, small and worried. Sarah couldn't speak. She just held up the collar, pointing at the engraving with a shaking finger. Lily moved closer, squinting at the words. Her eyes widened. "Bennett, like us, like your father." Sarah managed. She walked to the living room on unsteady legs, pulled down the photo album from the shelf, flipped to the deployment pictures. There, David, in desert camouflage, kneeling beside a younger, healthier German shepherd. The same distinctive markings, the same intelligent brown eyes. "That's Max," Lily breathed. "Dad's Max, from his letters." Sarah remembered now. David had written about Max constantly. How smart he was, how brave, how he'd saved the unit multiple times. David had loved that dog with the fierce devotion soldiers reserve for the ones who keep them alive. "Dad sent him to us." "Mom," Lily said with the certainty only children possess, "for Christmas." Sarah wanted to believe in miracles, wanted to believe her dead husband had somehow orchestrated this impossible reunion, but she was a nurse, a woman of science and medicine. Coincidence? Trauma? Random chance? And yet, maybe he did, baby. Sarah whispered, because her daughter was dying and deserved to believe in magic. The next morning, while Lily slept and Max kept watch by her bed, Sarah made phone calls. The military K-9 unit confirmed Max's service record and transfer after David's death. He'd been given to another soldier from David's unit. Travis McCoy, the administrator said. From Montana. Same hometown as Sergeant Bennett, I believe. Travis McCoy. Sarah knew that name. David had mentioned him in letters. His best friend, his unit buddy, the one who'd been with him at the end. She found Travis's address through the veterans database at the hospital, a trailer park on the edge of town, the kind where broken men went to disappear. The next day, Sarah drove there alone. The trailer sat isolated at the end of a dirt road, and even from her car she could see the neglect. Broken steps, trash bags piled by the door. No answer when she knocked. An elderly neighbor shuffled over, her walker crunching through snow. Looking for Travis. He ain't been back since Christmas Eve, Mrs. Kowalski said. Heard a commotion that night, dog crying something awful. Next morning, Travis's truck was gone. Sarah walked around the trailer, peering through grimy windows. Empty beer bottles covered every surface. A chain lay coiled in the corner. Dark stains on the metal links. Max's old food bowl sat empty by the door. The name, Max, still visible in faded letters. The evidence painted a clear picture. Travis McCoy, David's friend. The man David trusted had done this. Had beaten Max. Had abused the gift David left behind. Rage burned in Sarah's chest. She wanted to find Travis, wanted to scream at him, wanted to make him pay for hurting something David had loved. But another part of her, the nurse part that had seen what war did to men, wondered what demons had driven Travis to this. What nightmares made a good man turn cruel? She should report him, should call animal control, file charges. But Travis had already abandoned Max, had already disappeared, and Max was safe now. Wasn't that what mattered back home? Sarah watched Max with new eyes. He stayed by Lily's side constantly, as if understanding his mission. Every morning, he'd wake Lily with a gentle nudge, checking on her. He brought her slippers, laid his head on her feet when she rested. At night, he pulled her blanket up with his teeth, a gesture so deliberate it seemed trained. Then Sarah remembered. David used to tuck Lily in like that, pulling the covers up and kissing her forehead. Every single night before deployment, Max was doing the same thing, continuing David's ritual. Dr. Morrison noticed the change during a home visit. Her vital signs are stable. More importantly, she seems peaceful. That dog is good medicine. Word spread through Millbrook. The miracle dog, Bennett's widow, and the K-9 that found its way home. Neighbors whispered about divine intervention, about love transcending death. Sarah remained skeptical, but every night, watching Max care for Lily with David's own gestures, doubt crept in. What if this wasn't coincidence? What if love really could reach across death to protect what mattered most? She didn't know. But for the first time since David died, she wanted to believe. The days between Christmas and New Year's became sacred in their small house. Sarah documented them obsessively, as if she could hold on to time by writing it down. Her journal filled with observations that broke her heart, even as they gave her hope. December 27th. Lily started drawing again. She was too weak to write much anymore. The chemotherapy had damaged her nerves, made her hands shake, but she could still hold crayons. She drew pictures for Max. Simple things, a dog with a cape like a superhero, a dog with wings, a dog standing between two stick figures labeled me and Mom. December 28th. Max developed a morning routine. He'd wake before dawn, go to Lily's room, and check on her. Sarah watched from the hallway as the dog sniffed Lily carefully, systematically her breath, her hands, her chest, as if conducting a medical assessment. Only when satisfied would Max give a gentle nudge with his nose. "Wake up, little one. I'm here." It was exactly what military K9s were trained to do. Check their handler. Make sure they were alive and well. Sarah realized Max thought Lily was his new handler, his new mission, the person he was sworn to protect. That same morning, something magical happened. Lily laughed. Actually laughed. A sound Sarah had almost forgotten. Max had found David's old baseball in the garage, God knows how, and brought it to Lily, dropping it in her lap with such ceremony that it was almost comical. "He wants to play fetch. Mom." Lily giggled. "But I can't throw that far." "I'll throw it for you, baby." They played in the backyard for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes before Lily was too tired. But those 10 minutes felt like winning the lottery. That night, Sarah cried looking at the photos on her phone. Her daughter smiling. Her daughter playing. Small mercies in the face of inevitable loss. The nighttime ritual destroyed Sarah every time she witnessed it. Around 8 o'clock, Max would go to Lily's room, grab her blanket in his teeth, and carefully pull it up over her thin body. Then he'd lick her forehead, one gentle kiss before settling on the rug beside her bed. Sarah had watched David do this exact thing 100 times before deployments. The blanket, the forehead kiss, the protective presence. Max wasn't just a dog. He was David's love made manifest. David's promise to always protect their daughter, kept from beyond the grave. On December 28th, Dr. Morrison came for a home hospice evaluation. Sarah had known this moment was coming, the transition from fighting to accepting. But hearing it aloud felt like drowning. Her decline is progressing faster than we anticipated. Dr. Morrison said gently, his gray eyes kind behind wire-rimmed glasses. "We're looking at weeks now. Sarah, maybe days if she takes a turn. There's still the experimental trial," Sarah said desperately. "At Johns Hopkins, I've been researching. 2% success rate. Brutal side effects. They wouldn't accept her anyway at this stage. But there's a chance. Sarah?" "Doctor." Morrison took her hands. "You know what that trial would mean. You're a hospice nurse. You've seen it. The question isn't whether we can extend her life by a few painful weeks. It's whether we should." Sarah wanted to hate him for his gentleness, for his truth. She wanted to rage against the clinical accuracy of his prognosis. But he was right. She knew he was right. "What about palliative care?" she whispered. "We continue comfort measures, pain management, dignity. Let her spend her remaining time at home, with you, doing what brings her joy." What brought Lily joy was Max. Just Max. Sarah didn't know that Lily had been standing in the hallway, listening to every word. The Sunday after Christmas, Sarah made herself go to church. Lily was stable enough to leave with a neighbor for an hour, and Sarah needed something. Prayer. Community. An explanation from God about why children had to die. Pastor Williams asked the congregation to pray for Lily Bennett. The church was packed. Small towns showed up for their own, and the response was immediate. "That dog is God's angel sent for that child." "Mrs. Henderson proclaimed from the third pew, her voice carrying over the organ music. "It's a miracle, plain as day. It's just a dog." Mr. Foster's rebuttal came swift and sharp. We shouldn't give false hope. The child is dying. A pet won't change that. The congregation erupted into debate. Was Max divine intervention or dangerous delusion? Were they witnessing a miracle or watching a grieving family grasp at straws? Perhaps. Pastor Williams said diplomatically, "We can all agree that comfort comes in many forms, and we shouldn't judge how others find peace." But the damage was done. Sarah felt every eye on her as she left early, cheeks burning with humiliation. In the parking lot, she overheard more whispers. She's not accepting reality. That poor woman. Someone needs to tell her the truth. Let her have this. Would you take away a dying child's happiness? The controversy followed her to the Millbrook diner the next morning. Sarah sat in a corner booth, trying to eat breakfast before her shift, when she overheard the conversation 2 tables over. "Did you see the Facebook post? Someone shared that story about the Bennett girl and the dog. It's going viral. Media's been calling the hospital. They want interviews. Sarah won't do it. She's too private. Good for her. Last thing that child needs is cameras." But the requests kept coming. Local news, national morning shows, a producer from a cable network offering money for exclusive access. Sarah ignored them all, took down the number from their mailbox, put up a "no trespassing" sign when strangers started showing up with cameras. This was Lily's death, not a spectacle, not inspiration porn for people who wanted to feel better about their own lives. While Sarah dealt with unwanted attention, Travis McCoy was disappearing into his own private hell. Christmas Eve, after abandoning Max, Travis had driven aimlessly. He'd slept in his truck at rest stops, drinking cheap vodka, waiting for the courage to do what he knew he had to do. Without Max, the nightmares became unbearable. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw David dying, saw the IED explosion, heard his own screams. The dog had been the only thing anchoring him to reality, and he'd destroyed that too. On December 27th, Travis tried to return to his trailer. He needed more clothes, more bottles, more anything to make the pain stop. That's when he saw the tire tracks in the snow. Someone had been there. Someone had found his secret shame. Panicked. Travis fled. He was sure Max had died in the blizzard. Another death on his conscience. Another friend he'd failed. December 28th. Travis stumbled into a veterinary clinic on the outskirts of town. Desperate to know, the receptionist showed him a bulletin board. Lost and found pets. And there a poster with Max's photo. Found Christmas Eve. Currently safe with the Bennett family on Miller Road. If you have information about this dog's owner, please call. Bennett. The name hit Travis like a bullet. David's family. Max had found David's family. The perfect, terrible symmetry of it crushed him. The dog he'd brutalized had somehow navigated through a blizzard to find David's widow and daughter. Had done what Travis couldn't kept David's promise to protect them. Travis couldn't face them. Couldn't look Sarah Bennett in the eye and explain how he'd beaten the gift her husband left behind. He was a coward, a failure. Everything David would have despised. By December 30th, Travis had made his decision. He drove back to Millbrook, to the old barn behind the Bennett property, abandoned, unused. Perfect. He brought rope, wrote a note on the back of an old receipt. "I'm sorry, Dave. I failed you. I failed Max. I failed everyone. You should have let me die in Kandahar." Meanwhile, Lily was preparing for her own conversation with death. December 30th, afternoon. Sarah was doing laundry when Lily called her upstairs, her voice soft but serious. "Mom, I need to tell you something." Sarah sat on the edge of Lily's bed, trying to ignore how small her daughter looked under the covers, how the pink pajamas hung loose on her shrinking frame. "What is it, baby? I heard you talking to Dr. Morrison about the trial." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Lily, I don't want to do it. Mom, I'm tired." The words hung in the air like smoke. Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her daughter, her 8-year-old daughter, was telling her she wanted to stop fighting. "Baby, we have to try everything. There's still a chance." 2%. Lily said quietly. "I heard Dr. Morrison, 2%. And it'll hurt more. All those needles and throwing up and feeling sick. I don't want that. Mom, I don't want to spend my last days feeling worse." "Don't say last days. We don't know. Mom." Lily's voice carried a wisdom no child should possess. "You help people die at work. You tell them it's okay to let go. Why can't you help me?" The question shattered something fundamental in Sarah's chest. She was a hospice nurse. She'd guided hundreds of families through this exact conversation. She'd advocated for dignity, for patient autonomy, for death with peace instead of desperate, painful measures. But this was her baby. "Because you're my daughter," Sarah sobbed. "Because I'm not ready to lose you. Because I'm supposed to protect you. And stopping treatment feels like giving up. And I can't. Lily wrapped her thin arms around her mother, reversing the roles they'd played for 8 years. The child comforting the parent, the dying consoling the living. "I know. Mommy. That's why Max is here. So you won't be alone." "What?" "Dad sent Max because he knew you'd need someone. Max will take care of you when I can't anymore." Sarah pulled back, searching her daughter's face. "Lily, you can't think about taking care of me. You're the child. I'm supposed to. Can I just stay home?" Lily interrupted. "No more hospitals, just here, with you and Max. Can we just be a family for however long I have?" Sarah knew what this meant. Dr. Morrison had been clear. Without aggressive intervention, which probably wouldn't work anyway, Lily had days, a week at most. Choosing home meant choosing to let nature take its course. Every instinct screamed at Sarah to fight, to try the trial, try something, try anything. But looking at her daughter's face, so tired, so ready, so brave, Sarah saw the truth. This wasn't giving up. This was letting Lily choose her own ending, honoring her daughter's courage by being equally courageous. "Okay," Sarah whispered. "Okay, baby. We'll stay home. Just us. And Max. And Max." That evening, with shaking hands, Sarah called to Dr. Morrison. "We're stopping all treatment. Home hospice only. Comfort care." "I think that's the right choice," he said gently. "For what it's worth, Sarah, you're being the mother she needs, even when it's breaking your heart." After hanging up, Sarah went to her bedroom and screamed into a pillow until her throat was raw. She raged at God, at cancer, at the cruelty of a universe that let children die. Then she washed her face, put on a smile, and went downstairs to make dinner for her daughter. Downstairs, Max lay with his head on Lily's lap, those knowing brown eyes watching her, protecting her, keeping David's promise. And somewhere, in the darkness, Travis McCoy prepared his own ending in an abandoned barn, unaware that salvation was padding toward him on 4 gentle paws. December 30th, 10 o'clock at night. Sarah sat in Lily's room, reading aloud from Charlotte's Web, Lily's favorite. though she'd heard it a dozen times. Max lay beside the bed, his usual position, seemingly at peace. Then, suddenly, he wasn't. Max's head snapped up, ears forward, every muscle tensed. A low whine escaped his throat, not the playful sound he made during fetch, but something urgent, almost frantic. "What's wrong, boy?" Sarah set the book aside. "Need to go out." Max jumped to his feet, paced to the door and back, whining louder. He grabbed Sarah's sleeve in his teeth, gentle but insistent, and pulled. "Mom, something's wrong," Lily said, her voice thin with concern. "He never acts like this." Max ran to the door, scratched at it desperately, then looked back at Sarah. His eyes held an intelligence that was almost human. A plea? "Follow me. Now." "Okay. Okay." Sarah stood, confused. "Lily, baby, stay here. I'll see what's bothering him." "Mom." Lily's voice stopped her at the door. "He needs to show you something. Like Lassie. Go with him." Sarah pulled on her coat, grabbed a flashlight, and opened the front door. Max bolted into the darkness, then stopped, waiting for her to follow. When she hesitated, he barked sharp, commanding. She followed him across the snow-covered yard, past the house, toward the old barn at the back of the property. The barn they never used, hadn't opened in over a year. Her flashlight beam caught Max's form ahead, moving with purpose through the drifts. The barn door stood open. Unusual. Sarah's heart began to race. Light flickered inside the bluish glow of a cell phone. And then she saw him. Travis McCoy hung from a rope tied to the support beam, a kicked-over barrel beneath his feet. His body was still, swaying slightly in the draft from the open door. No, Sarah's training overrode her shock. She sprinted forward, registering details in fragments: fresh rope, neck not broken, suspension hanging. Slower death, possible revival window. Max was already there, miraculously holding the barrel upright with his body weight, taking pressure off the rope. The dog looked at her, urgent, as if to say, "Hurry." Sarah climbed onto the barrel Max stabilized, her fingers fumbling with the knot. "Come on. Come on." The rope was new, tight. She pulled her car keys from her pocket, used the small knife attached to her keychain, sawed frantically at the fibers. The rope gave way. Travis's body collapsed into her arms, dead weight that nearly knocked her off balance. Max jumped clear as Sarah lowered Travis to the barn floor. No pulse, no breathing. Sarah's hands moved automatically, muscle memory from years of medical training. She tilted his head back, checked his airway clear, started chest compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rhythm ingrained in her bones. 30 compressions, 2 rescue breaths. Her mind flashed to David's funeral, the flag-draped coffin, the finality of death she couldn't prevent. Not this time. "Come on, Travis, don't you dare die on me." Compress. 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 David didn't save you in Afghanistan, so you could do this. Breathe. Max paced beside her, whining, agitated. 1 minute of CPR, 2 minutes. Sarah's arms burned, her breath coming in gasps. But she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands, dialed 911 while continuing compressions with one hand. "This is Sarah Bennett. I'm a nurse. I have a male approximately 35, attempted hanging, no pulse, performing CPR. Miller Road, the old barn behind, yes. Yes. Please hurry." 15 minutes, they said. 15 minutes for the ambulance in this weather. Sarah went back to compressions. 3 minutes. 4. Her muscles screamed. Sweat dripped into her eyes despite the cold. You don't get to quit. She gasped between breaths. Max saved you. Do you hear me? The dog you beat came to save you. And you're not going to waste that. 5 minutes. Then Travis gasped. A horrible, rattling sound, but breathing. His chest rose and fell on its own. Pulse returning under Sarah's fingers. Thready but present. Thank God. Sarah rolled him to his side, recovery position, watching for vomit. Travis's eyes fluttered open, unfocused, confused. He saw Sarah, saw Max standing beside her. Reality crashed back into his consciousness, and he began to sob horrible, broken sounds. I killed him, Travis choked out. Dave, it was my fault. I couldn't save him, and I couldn't even take care of his dog. I beat him. God, I beat him. And he came back. Why did he come back? You're alive, Sarah said firmly. That's what matters right now. Breathe, Travis. Just breathe. Let me die. Please. I don't deserve. Max doesn't think so. Sarah gestured to the dog, who was watching Travis with those intelligent brown eyes. He saved you. After everything you did to him, he saved your life. Travis's eyes met Max's. The dog moved closer, lowered his head, and gently, so gently licked Travis's hand. Forgiveness in a simple gesture. Travis broke completely, curling into himself, sobbing like a child. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later, red lights cutting through the darkness. Paramedics Sarah knew them both from the hospital loaded Travis onto a stretcher, started IVs, assessed vitals. He's stable. Tom, the lead paramedic, told Sarah, you saved his life. We'll take him to Millbrook Medical. Psych evaluation in the morning. I didn't save him, Sarah said quietly, her hand on Max's head. He did. The hospital's emergency room waiting area smelled of antiseptic and bad coffee. Sarah sat in a plastic chair at 2 a.m, still wearing her coat. Max beside her despite the no pets policy. No one had the heart to enforce it. Doctor. Patel emerged after an hour, her dark eyes kind behind surgical mask pulled down to her chin. Mr. McCoy is stable. Physically. He'll recover fully. Mentally. That's another conversation. We're keeping him for 72-hour psychiatric hold. He'll start counseling tomorrow. Can I see him? 5 minutes. He's asking for you. Travis looked small in the hospital bed, neck bruised, eyes red and swollen. An IV dripped clear fluid into his arm. He couldn't meet Sarah's gaze. I'm sorry, he whispered. For Max, for failing David, for all of it. Sarah should have been angry, should have screamed at him for what he'd done to Max, for trying to waste the life David died protecting. But looking at Travis, broken, ashamed, drowning in survivor's guilt, she saw only another casualty of war. David loved you, she said simply. He wrote about you in his letters, called you his brother. He'd want you to get help. I don't deserve. None of us deserve the grace we're given, Travis. We just have to figure out what to do with it. She paused. Max forgave you. Maybe start there. She left before he could respond. Max padding beside her through the fluorescent corridors. Sarah returned home at 2:30 a.m, exhausted to her bones. She opened the door quietly, hoping Lily was asleep. But Lily sat on the couch, wrapped in blankets, her face pale with worry. Is Max okay? The first question from her lips, not where were you, but concern for the dog. "Max is fine. Baby, he's a hero." Sarah collapsed beside her daughter. "He saved someone's life tonight." "Who?" Sarah explained it all. Travis, the barn, the rescue. Lily listened with wide eyes, processing the impossible story of the dog who'd been beaten coming back to save his abuser. "Max is like Jesus," Lily said finally. "He saved the person who hurt him." The comparison startled Sarah, but she couldn't argue with it. There was something divine, or at least profoundly good, in Max's capacity for forgiveness. Sarah finally let herself cry. Not quiet tears, but deep, wrenching sobs. All the grief and fear and exhaustion of the past weeks poured out. She cried for Lily, for David, for Travis, for all the broken things in the world that couldn't be fixed. Lily held her mother, small arms, surprisingly strong, the child comforting the parent, roles reversed in the most heartbreaking way. Max joined them, pressing his warm body against both of them, completing a circle of 3 broken souls holding each other together. "I don't know how to let you go, baby," Sarah confessed, the words tearing from somewhere deep. "I don't know how to survive losing you." Lily pulled back, her brown eyes, David's eyes, filled with a wisdom beyond her years. "You don't let me go, Mom. You walk me home. And Max will help you. Dad sent him for that." In that moment, at 3 a.m. on the last day of the year, Sarah understood. This was never just about Max comforting Lily. It was about preparing Sarah for what came next, teaching her through a dog's example that love doesn't end with death, and that letting go isn't abandonment, it's the final act of protection. The 3 of them sat together on the couch until dawn broke over Millbrook, washing the world in pale winter light. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and silent. New Year's Eve was hours away, and with it, the final chapter of their story. New Year's Eve morning arrived with cruel, bright sunshine. Sarah woke to find Lily already awake in bed, staring at the ceiling with an expression too old for her young face. "Morning, baby," Sarah said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. "How are you feeling?" Lily turned her head slowly, the simple movement seeming to exhaust her. "Tired, Mom? Really tired." At breakfast, Lily could barely lift her spoon. Sarah had to help her with the oatmeal, feeding her daughter like a toddler. Lily managed 3 bites before shaking her head. "I can't. I'm sorry." "It's okay, sweetheart. You don't have to." Sarah's voice cracked. Lily was fading before her eyes, the decline accelerating in ways that terrified her. When Lily needed to use the bathroom, she couldn't walk on her own. Sarah had to carry her, feeling how light her daughter had become, how fragile, like holding a bird with hollow bones. Back in bed, wrapped in blankets, Lily looked at her mother with clear, determined eyes. "Mom, we need to talk about the trial." Sarah's stomach clenched. "Baby, I already decided. No trial. Mom, but there's still a chance. A small chance." "Yes, but 2%. Lily's voice was steady, certain. "Doctor, Morrison said 2%. And I'd hurt more. All those needles and the sickness I'm throwing up. I don't want my last days to hurt worse than they already do." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest, hot, irrational, desperate. "We can't just give up. I can't just watch you die without trying everything." "It's not giving up," Lily interrupted gently. It's choosing. I get to choose. Don't I? You're 8 years old. I'm dying. The words hung in the air, brutal and honest. I know it. You know it. Everyone knows it. The trial won't save me. Mom, it'll just make dying hurt more. Sarah stood abruptly, paced to the window, her fists clenched. Rage boiled inside her at God, at cancer, at the universe's cruelty, at her own helplessness. She wanted to scream, to break something, to fight an enemy she couldn't see or touch. What kind of mother gives up on her child? She whispered, her reflection in the window blurred by tears. Behind her, Lily's voice came soft but sure, the kind who loves her enough to let her be peaceful. Sarah turned, saw her daughter watching her with David's eyes, brave, accepting, at peace in a way Sarah couldn't fathom. I'm not ready. Sarah sobbed. I know, Mommy, but I am. Sarah crossed the room, gathered Lily into her arms, held her like she'd never let go. But even as she held her, she knew the truth. Sometimes love meant loosening your grip. Sometimes protection meant allowing surrender. With shaking hands, Sarah called Dr. Morrison. We're stopping treatment. No trial. Just keep her comfortable. I think you're making the brave choice, Sarah. For Lily's sake. Brave? Sarah didn't feel brave. She felt like she was murdering her own child through inaction. But when she hung up and looked at Lily's face, the relief, the gratitude, the peace, Sarah knew her daughter was right. That afternoon, a knock at the door startled them both. Max growled low in his throat, protective. Sarah opened the door to find Travis McCoy standing on her porch. He looked terrible. Fresh stitches marked his neck, visible above the collar of his coat. His eyes were haunted, rimmed with red. He'd lost weight even in the few days since Christmas. His face gaunt and gray. Sarah's body instinctively moved to block the doorway, positioning herself between this broken man and her dying daughter. What do you want? Travis's knees buckled. He dropped into the snow, his hands clasped in front of him, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I hurt the one thing Dave loved most after you and Lily. I beat him. I starved him. His words dissolved into sobs. Sarah felt Max press against her leg, solid and calm despite facing his abuser. Max saved your life, she said quietly. After everything you did to him. I know. I don't understand it. I don't deserve it. Travis looked up at her, his face twisted with anguish. Dave died saving me in Afghanistan. Took a bullet meant for me. And I repaid that by becoming a monster. By hurting the partner he loved. Why? Sarah's voice was hard. Why did you do it? Because every time I looked at Max, I saw Dave dying. Over and over. The explosion. The blood. His last words. Take care of them, Travis. Promise me. And I couldn't even take care of his dog. Travis's hands shook violently. Max reminded me that I should have been the one who died. Not Dave. Never Dave. Sarah saw it then, the same survivor's guilt that David had written about in his letters. The poison that killed soldiers long after they came home from war. Travis reached into his jacket with trembling fingers, pulled out a worn envelope. I need to give you this. Dave gave it to me before his last patrol. He said, if I don't come back, give this to Max's next handler. Sarah took the envelope, her heart hammering. David's handwriting, her name written on the outside, with, for Max's guardian, beneath it. With shaking hands, she opened it, unfolded the letter. David's words, written 2.5 years ago, reached out from death itself. Sarah read aloud, her voice breaking. To whoever takes care of Max, he's more than a dog. He's a soldier, a brother, a hero who saved more lives than I can count, including mine. And he has one mission left: protect my family. If you're reading this, I'm gone, but Max isn't. Let him serve. Let him love. He knows his job. He's been doing it since he was a pup. Tell Sarah I sent him home. Tell Lily her daddy's still watching. Max is my promise. Made flesh and fur. As long as he's with them, I'm with them. Take care of him. Love him like I did. And thank you for completing the mission I couldn't finish. With gratitude. Sergeant David Bennett. The letter fell from Sarah's hands. Her legs gave out, and Travis caught her before she hit the ground, both of them kneeling in the snow, sobbing. David had known, had planned this, had arranged for Max to come home if the worst happened. It wasn't coincidence or miracle, it was a soldier's final order, carried out across years and distance by a dog who never forgot his mission. He planned it. Sarah whispered. All of it. Dave always had a plan. Travis's voice was thick with tears and something like reverence. I forgot. Lost myself. But Max didn't forget. He never forgot his mission. Inside, Lily called out weakly, Mom, is everything okay? Sarah composed herself, stood, helped Travis to his feet. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not the man who'd hurt Max, but another casualty of the same war that took David. Come inside, she said. Lily should hear this too. That evening, Lily made her requests. Sarah sat beside her bed, Max at their feet. The room dim with early winter darkness. I want to write letters, Lily said. For you, for Max, for Dad. Okay, baby. Tell me what to write. Lily was too weak to hold a pen anymore, her hands shaking with nerve damage from chemotherapy. So Sarah became her daughter's voice, writing down words that would be the last gifts Lily could give. Dear Mom, Lily dictated slowly. Thank you for being the best mom in the whole world. Thank you for reading to me and holding me when I was scared and never leaving me alone. Don't be sad for too long. Okay, I'll tell Daddy you were so brave. I'll tell him you did everything right. I love you forever and ever. You're Lily. Sarah's tears blotted the page, but she kept writing. For Max. Lily couldn't write words. Instead, with crayons gripped in shaking hands, she drew pictures. Max with a superhero cape, Max with angel wings, Max standing between two figures, one small, one tall, protecting them from stick-figure monsters. That's you and me, Lily explained, pointing at the figures. He's keeping the bad stuff away. The last letter was hardest. Dear Daddy, Lily whispered as Sarah wrote. Hi, it's me, Lily. I'm coming to see you soon. Really soon. I think Max did his job. He took care of me and Mom. Just like you asked him to. He's the best dog ever. Tell God thank you for sending him. I miss you so much. Save me a spot up there. Okay, I love you. Your little girl, Lily. When the letters were finished and sealed, Lily looked at her mother with tired but peaceful eyes. Can we stay up tonight for New Year's, all of us, like a normal family? Sarah's throat closed with grief. There was nothing normal about this, about celebrating the turn of a year her daughter wouldn't see the end of. But Lily was asking for so little. Just time. Just presents. Anything you want, baby girl. Anything in the world. New Year's Eve, 11 o'clock. The living room glowed with firelight, shadows dancing across walls decorated with Lily's crayon drawings. Sarah had carried her daughter downstairs, settled her on the couch wrapped in blankets. Max lay with his head on Lily's lap, watching her face with those constant, vigilant eyes. Travis sat in the armchair across from them, hands clasped between his knees, still looking like a man who'd recently visited death's door, but his eyes were clearer than they'd been in years, focused on the child who was dying and the dog who'd saved them both. "Tell me stories about Dad," Lily said suddenly, her voice thin but curious. "The ones Mom doesn't know." Sarah tensed. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear war stories tonight. Didn't want Lily's last hours filled with violence and fear. But Travis looked at Lily with such gentle understanding that Sarah found herself nodding permission. "Your dad was the bravest man I ever knew," Travis began, his voice steadier than Sarah expected. "But not because he wasn't scared. He was terrified. Same as all of us. He was brave because he loved you and your mom so much that fear didn't matter." "Tell me the funny stuff," Lily said. "Not the scary parts." Travis smiled, the first real smile Sarah had seen on his face. "Okay. Your dad couldn't cook to save his life. One time, he tried to make pancakes in the field kitchen and they came out like rubber tires. We used one as a frisbee for Max." Lily giggled. The sound like music in the quiet room. "Really? Really?" Max caught it and buried it. Probably still there in Afghanistan, preserved for archaeologists to find in 1,000 years. They traded stories for an hour. Sarah shared memories of David's terrible singing in the shower, his obsession with fixing things that weren't broken, the way he danced with Lily in the kitchen to songs only he could hear. Travis told tales of David's pranks, his loyalty, the time he'd won a poker game with a bluff so obvious it shouldn't have worked but did. Lily laughed. Actually laughed, her eyes bright with joy at knowing her father through these fragments of memory. At 11:55, with Times Square on the television and 5 minutes until midnight, Lily asked the question that changed everything. "Travis, did my dad really save your life?" Travis's smile faded. He looked down at his hands, at the scars on his knuckles, the tremor that never quite left them. "Yes," he said quietly. "Afghanistan, 2017. We were clearing a compound. I went through a doorway first. Didn't check my corners properly. Taliban fighter had an AK pointed right at me. Finger on the trigger." Sarah held her breath, hadn't heard this story before. "Dave saw him, pushed me out of the way. The bullet that should have killed me hit him instead." Travis's voice cracked. "He took my death, gave me his life, and I wasted it. Got drunk, hurt the dog he loved, tried to throw it all away. But Max saved you," Lily said simply. "Like Dad saved you. Like God keeps saving you." Travis looked at the child with wonder. "How are you so wise?" "I'm dying," Lily said matter-of-factly. "You see things clearer when you're close to the end, and I can see that you're alive for a reason." "Travis, maybe you're supposed to keep living, for all of them, for Dad, for Max. Maybe that's your job now." The truth of it settled over the room like snow. Travis had been given not one but 2 chances at life, once by David's sacrifice, once by Max's mercy. The question was what he'd do with those gifts. "Your dad would be proud of you, Lily," Travis whispered. "So proud." The moment hung suspended, sacred and fragile. Then Sarah spoke, her voice breaking the silence. "I have to tell you something, baby. I've been angry." Lily turned her head slowly to look at her mother. "At who?" "At God. At your dad for leaving us. At cancer. At you." Sarah's voice broke. "At you for choosing to go." She expected shock, hurt, anger. Instead, Lily just nodded with that terrible understanding. "It's okay to be angry, Mom. I'm angry too sometimes. I don't know how to exist without you," Sarah confessed, the words tearing from somewhere deep and primal. "You're my whole world. When you go, what's left?" Lily's small hand found Sarah's. "That's why Max is staying. And Travis too. You're not alone, Mom. You'll never be alone." And suddenly Sarah understood. This whole impossible story, Max finding them on Christmas Eve, the letter from David, Travis's rescue, all of it wasn't just about comforting Lily in her final days. It was about building Sarah a life raft for after. Max was her connection to David, her reminder that love persisted beyond death. Travis was someone else who carried David's memory, who understood that specific grief of military loss. Together, they formed a support system, a new kind of family built from broken pieces. Lily, even while dying, was taking care of her mother, orchestrating the aftermath, making sure Sarah would have reasons to keep going when the grief became unbearable. "You knew," Sarah whispered. "You've been planning this, taking care of me." "Someone has to," Lily said with a small smile. "You're terrible at taking care of yourself, Mom." It was so absurd, an 8-year-old worrying about her mother's future, that Sarah laughed through her tears. Travis laughed too, and Max's tail thumped once against the floor. On the television, the countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Lily's eyes were already closing, exhaustion claiming her. "Mom, I'm really tired." "I know. Baby. You can rest. Will you be okay?" The question every dying child asks their parent. The terrible reversal of natural order. Sarah looked at Max, at Travis, at the strange new family that had assembled itself around her grief. "Eventually, because you taught me how. 7, 6, 5. Tell Max he's a good boy," Lily whispered. "Tell Dad I love him. I love you. Mommy, I love you too. Baby. So much. More than anything in this world." 4, 3, 2. The ball dropped on the television. Fireworks exploded across the screen. People in Times Square screamed and cheered, celebrating the beginning of 2020. In the Bennett living room, Lily fell asleep in her mother's arms, her breathing soft and even. Not death yet, but the beginning of goodbye. Max lifted his head, licked Lily's hand gently, and whimpered low in his throat. He knew. Dogs always know. Travis sat quietly in his chair, tears streaming down his face, watching this sacred moment with the reverence it deserved. A witness to grace he didn't deserve but had been given anyway. Outside, snow began to fall again, covering Millbrook in white silence. The old year ended. The new year began. And in that liminal space between past and future, a family held each other and waited for dawn. January 1st, 3:17 in the morning. Lily's breathing had changed in the hour since midnight, shallow, irregular. The sound Sarah knew from years of hospice work. the sound that meant minutes, not hours. Sarah held her daughter close on the living room couch. The fire burned down to embers. She sang softly, her voice breaking on every word. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." Max lay pressed against them both, his brown eyes never leaving Lily's face. Travis sat in the armchair, witness to this most sacred of moments, tears streaming silently down his face. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Sarah's voice cracked completely. "Please don't take my sunshine away." Lily took one more breath, then stopped. The silence was profound, heavy, sacred. Sarah's single sob broke it. Then she went quiet, numb, holding her daughter's body as if holding on could bring her back. Max lifted his head and howled, one long, mournful cry that seemed to contain all the grief in the world. Dogs know death. They understand it in ways humans can't. On the mantel, David's framed photograph fell forward with a soft thud, landing face down at exactly 3:17. Sarah looked at it, then at Max, then at her daughter's peaceful face. And she chose to believe. Chose to believe that David had come to take Lily home, that love really could reach across death, that nothing truly ends. The funeral was held on January 4th at Millbrook Community Church. The entire town showed up standing room only, people packed into every pew and lining the walls. Small towns show up for their own, especially for children. Pastor Williams allowed Max at the service. No one objected. The German Shepherd lay beside Lily's small white casket throughout the ceremony, refusing to leave her side, even in death. She taught us that love doesn't require time, only truth. Pastor Williams said, "In 8 short years, Lily Bennett showed more grace than most of us will in 80. She faced death with courage, accepted it with wisdom, and used her final days to heal the broken people around her." Sarah sat in the first row, Travis beside her. They didn't speak, didn't need to. Grief had made them family. The burial took place in the snow. Lily laid to rest beside her father. Travis helped carry the casket, his hands steady, his face solemn. This was how he repaid David, by honoring his daughter, by being present when it mattered. The community responded with overwhelming support. Meal trains, a fundraiser that paid off Sarah's medical debt completely. Cards and flowers and casseroles that kept coming for weeks. But none of it filled the hole Lily left behind. In the days after, Max stopped eating. He lay in Lily's room, on the rug beside her bed, staring at nothing. Sarah tried everything, his favorite foods, hand-feeding, begging, but the dog had given up. On the 4th day, Travis came to visit. He sat on the floor beside Max, didn't speak, just stayed. After an hour, he offered food from his hand. Max ate, just a little, but enough. It became a ritual. Travis would come daily, sit with Max, coax him back to life. The dog who'd saved Travis now needed saving in return. The circle of grace completing itself. By June 2020, Sarah had transformed the old barn into Lily's Hope Center, a rescue and therapy animal facility for veterans and terminally ill children. Max became the chief therapy officer, his scarred back and gentle eyes offering comfort to others who'd suffered. Travis volunteered full-time, working with rescue dogs and veteran clients struggling with PTSD. He'd been sober 11 months, had started proper treatment, was learning, slowly, to to forgive himself. Sarah returned to nursing. But now she understood what she'd been teaching families all along, that letting go isn't failure. It's the final act of love. The center helped 12 veterans in its first 6 months, placed 20 rescue dogs, became exactly what Lily had somehow known was needed, a place where broken things could heal together. Christmas Eve. 2020 arrived with snow, just like the year before. Sarah and Travis drove to the cemetery together in the late afternoon, Max in the back seat. Their relationship had evolved into something neither could quite name. Not romance. Not yet. But more than friendship. Two people who'd survived the same storm, learning to rebuild on shared ground. They walked through the snow to the two graves side by side, Sergeant David Bennett and Lily Rose Bennett. Sarah placed a white rose on each headstone. "We did it, baby girl," she whispered. "We learned to live again." Travis knelt, his hand touching Lily's stone. "I'm sober 11 months. Got a job I care about. A purpose." His voice caught. "Because of you, Dave. And Lily. And Max. You all saved me when I didn't deserve saving." Max, now 6 years old with gray around his muzzle, sat calmly between the two graves. His mission was complete. The family was protected. Even in death, love had endured. Snow began to fall heavier. Max looked up, caught a snowflake on his nose, and barked once sharp, joyful, the first happy sound he'd made in months. Sarah laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprising her. Travis looked at her, and slowly, carefully, took her hand. She didn't pull away. They stood there as darkness fell. Three survivors learning that endings can also be beginnings. That death makes space for new life. That love doesn't end, it just changes shape. "Ready to go home?" Travis asked softly. Sarah looked at the graves one more time, then at Max, then at Travis. Home. A word that meant something different now. Not a place, but people. Not perfection, but presence. "Yeah," she said. "Let's go home." They walked to the truck, Max between them, his tail wagging slowly. In the distance, Millbrook's Christmas lights glowed warm against the winter darkness. Sarah glanced back once more at the graves, snow already covering the fresh roses. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For Max. For Travis. For teaching me how to let go." The wind carried her words away into the Montana night, and somewhere, perhaps only in her heart, perhaps somewhere more, she felt David and Lily smile. They drove home through the snow, headlights cutting through darkness. Max's head out the window despite the cold. The radio played Christmas music softly. Sarah looked at Travis's profile, at Max's joyful face, at the road ahead disappearing into white. We're all rescue dogs. Really, she thought. Just looking for home. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, home finds us first, finds us.